What's happening, guys? Kenny here again, and today I've got another HRC testing video for you, and this is like number 6 or something. It's getting up there. Been a lot of knives tested, and we've got a good data compiled now. And it's not just me, guys. We've got a lot of other channels sending knives to be compiled. This all got started, I think, by LTK and also David from BladeBanter. These guys started this testing, and then I saw it going on, and I tried to, get, a machine myself, but I realized it was just going to be too expensive. And I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Kurt. Kurt is the guy that's doing all this testing, and he works for a reputable company that does a lot of, subcontract work for the government and other things. So his machine is, just above and beyond. It's calibrated every 60 days. A lot of other machines are calibrated once a year or even every, 6 months, if that. And it's just like his machine is tested every 60 days. It's also an older machine, which actually they find are more accurate. So the older Wilson machines tend to be more accurate. And we are so lucky to have Kurt in our community because he is giving us, the average guy, the information that we would not have gotten otherwise. So, excuse me, normally this would have just been done by the manufacturer or some outside company, and we would never see the results, or we would never know the truth. So thank you so much to Kurt, guys. Give him, shout outs and thank you in the comments below. Also, a big shout out and thank you to David at BladeBanter, because he's the one who's been keeping up with this whole spreadsheet, which is a monster in its own. Yeah, thank you so much, David. That's a lot of work, and I try to help it when I can, but that's still, he's still got to enter all those numbers, so it's a lot. And there's a lot of knives now testing. So again, guys, don't hit up Kurt personally. If you want to get your knife tested, you can hit me up or hit Super Steel Steve or BladeBanter or Banter247. One of these guys that are, one of these channels, hit them up, and then they can send the knife to Kurt. And just because Kurt's getting overloaded, so we need to keep this, just more, just more organized, essentially. But so getting right into it, sorry, I know that was a little preface there, but getting into it now, I've got 2 knives to talk about today, and also I'm going to go over a lot of what's going on in the community right now, which is low HRC on M390 and stuff like that. There's a lot of talk going on. Also on the Benchmade 3V thing, there's just a lot of negative hype now, and just people going to the other extreme. We have guys that are fanboys that just want to say that make excuses for the company, which is crazy. And then the other guys that are just go the complete opposite, and they're like, oh, Benchmade's horrible, blah, blah, blah. It's not the case, guys. Every company we're finding every company has some low HRC numbers. So we don't want to go, crazy and be like, oh, it's all Benchmade, it's all Lion Steel, we're just trying to get the truth out there, guys, and try and hold these companies accountable. That's all this is about. This is all just about getting us what we deserve, what the steel that they're saying at the HRC at the HRC that is, ideal for the steel. What's the point in getting M390 if it's not near what it could be doing? So that's the idea, guys, is let's just hold companies accountable. Not necessarily burn them at the stake. That's not what this is about. I'll also be going over, I know Banter247 and NeroKnives, Vinny, they've been kind of going back and forth with this idea of hey, you get what you pay for. Also don't focus so much on the steel, but the actual heat treat process. And there's a lot more going on than just HRC number, okay, guys? And I know I've said this in the past, but it's really important to understand those things. And also geometry. Vinny and also Ryan, they preach geometry a lot, and it's important to understand that geometry has a lot to do with what you're going to get as well, your end result. And the user has everything to do with what geometry you would want. If you're a guy that just slams his knives through cardboard, doesn't worry about staples and all that stuff, you're gonna want a thicker geometry, because you're just gonna destroy your apex if you hit a staple or something like that. So there's those things as well you want to consider. Sorry, I know this is a long intro, but I want to go ahead and flip you around. I'm going to talk about this knife today, guys, the Ferrum Forge / Wee Archbishop 2.0 Pro Series with M390 steel. We'll be talking about that, and then we'll be talking about CRK Inkosi. This is with S35 VN, as you all know, and that's the only two knives I'm talking about, so it'll lend me a little bit more time to talk about this other stuff going on. Okay, so I'll go ahead and flip you around, and we'll talk about what the results found. All right, so first things first here, we're going to talk about this guy. This is the Archbishop from Ferrum Forge, manufactured by Wee. And this knife is with M390 steel, as you guys can see there. And that's where it was tested, as you can see there. Now, first things first, I'm going to go over the attributes, the steel attributes, and we're going to see where they land. So we can see here, this is the Bowler site, and this is their specs here on chemical composition of the steel. So what we have here is 0.70 silicon, which we're at 2.453, guys. Yeah, I started with the big kind of elephant in the room there, but we'll go over what that can do to the steel after. Next, we've got molybdenum. Oh, I'm sorry, manganese. I'll bring it closer. We got manganese at 0.30. And if we look here, where's our manganese? Sorry, it's kind of hard looking through here. Okay, so manganese, we have 0. So there's no manganese in this steel, at least found by the PMI gun. And then we have 20% chromium. In the steel, we found 19.2. So it's a little low on the chromium, almost a point, which is pretty significant. Moly, so molybdenum, 1%. Here we have 1.125. So yeah, that's solid. And then we have vanadium, 4%. We're a little low. We got 3.888. That's not bad. And then wolfram, which is tungsten. So we have 0.6 is what should be in there. And the wolfram in here is going to be 0.618. So it's right on the money pretty much with the tungsten. So what we're seeing is that we got a pretty solid composition here with a little bit low chromium, vanadium, and then of course the manganese. Now, manganese and silicone kind of do the same thing in steels, very similar what they do, which is they help the grain structure form and get finer when you're annealing and like rolling the steel and when they're getting the steel prepared. So it helps get deoxidized. It helps get all the oxygen atoms out of there and just make sure that everything comes together tight. That's what manganese and also silicon does. Now, with high levels of silicon, you know, that can create brittleness, kind of like manganese when manganese gets too high. But, you know, I didn't notice that in use with this. And with no manganese, a little extra silicon wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily. But this is very high. It shouldn't even be close to those levels, which is a little strange. But in use, I did not notice like necessarily brittleness or anything. I have not noticed anything that would promote that or like say that this has caused inclusion in the steel or caused any brittleness. So, in saying that, I will go ahead and show you guys what first I'll show you the HRC machine, the Wilson, hitting the knife here, putting the divot in, and you can see by that we do have M390 at 59.8. So that's pretty solid, guys. As a result for M390, it's still not into that 60 to 61 or 62 range that we really want to see start to happen in production steels. Production knives, I should say. but it's good. It's really good. And I did notice that it seemed like this M390 performed better than anything I've had before. Even if ever so slightly, this felt much better of an apex, and it also seems to hold that apex much better than even my M390, I'm sorry, the Benchmade Nakamura I have. Yeah, that guy I think was 59.5, and even that 0.3%, I feel like I can, or that 0.3 point on HRC numbers, I feel like I feel that difference. That could also have something to do with the grain structure. They might do a cryo. There might be some other processes going on that help this to austenitize all that, get all the austenite, oh god, to get all the austenite out of the steel. They might be doing a better process, or it could have just been this particular example. But it definitely feels like this M390 held up and takes a better apex than even that Nakamura. So really nice, guys. I really do enjoy sharpening and using this M390, and to get it in that range and feel that difference, I definitely want to see what 61's all about, you know, 60 to 61. I did just get this knife, and this is spec to be 60 to 61 in spec for the 20 CV in this guy. So hopefully it actually comes up in spec, and I'd be really eager to see how it performs. I just got it though, so I haven't sharpened or used it much yet. Moving forward, we're going to talk about the titanium really quick, because I do have that as well. The titanium in this, the titanium used on this Archbishop seems to be what it's supposed to be. We didn't get a match for the Ti 6.4V because we think it's because of the coating. There's silicon interference, so we think that's what's causing that. You see the high silicon level here. So whatever this coating is, we think that's what's causing it to not read the Ti 6.4, because everything else lines up really good. So yeah, everything looks good with this knife, and I'm really stoked with the result. Although I really wish it was up over 60 just to know what that's like, but yeah, I'm not disappointed with this at all, and it performs excellently. I mean, this thing's still screaming sharp, and I put a lot of work into it. Sent it to Kurt, let him put some work on it, and it's still screaming sharp. I bet you I could get this thing to whittle by doing some stropping, but this is like sticky too. So yeah, really nice. Really impressed with this M390. Can't wait to get some better stuff in my hands as well, like some 62 like Gerald got from Outpost 76. I'd love to see that. So anyways, moving right along, we're gonna go into the CRK, talk about that. So first things first, we're gonna talk about the steel attributes as far as S35 is concerned. And one thing I'll say about this S35 is it nails the attributes. And there's nothing in here that's weird. Nothing seen here like, you know, silicon or manganese, or anything that's not supposed to be in there. It's not. We've got pretty pure steel here. And as far as carbon, obviously we don't see the carbon level in there. Chromium, we've got 14%. Here we're a little low, 13.79. Not something I'm worried about at all. Vanadium's at 3%. Here we've got 3.238, which is over. Niobium's going to be, we've got 0.5%. Here we've got 0.658, which is over. And then, of course, molybdenum, which is 2% is what we should have, and we've got 2.59. So, yeah, excellent as far as the chemical makeup goes on this steel. Really pure and nice. Probably another reason this performs really well. But I will show you here. We've got the divot from the Wilson HRC testing machine. And I'll go ahead and show you guys the machine hitting the steel. And then bring you guys back and show you, yeah buddy, 60 HRC, which is in spec, just barely, but just barely within spec to being over HRC. These are advertised to be 59 to 60, which I even have, you know, they come with the card that says 59 to 60 HRC, and 60, guys. That is excellent. That's really nice to be hitting the top level of your range. And I will say that I noticed it in sharpening for sure. This guy took, with 140 grit diamond, it took forever to reprofile. I feel like, I think if I remember correctly, it was like 30 to 45 minutes to reprofile it. I definitely should have started with the 100 or 50 grit. But once I got it reprofiled, as I moved to the 300 grit stone, it removed the scratches so fast, and it was just like amazing. I could not believe how quickly the scratch pattern changed and how quickly it apexed, and then the subsequent stones just went easier and easier. When I got to the 1500 stone, it literally just like instantly polished and burred it. This is almost a mirror polish at 1500. It was spectacular. And the apex that came up was so fine and sticky. It felt like a tool steel, to be honest, guys. And when I would go to whittle, it would whittle in both directions, and it was just exploding hairs, guys. This thing was just amazing, like as far as the apex was concerned. So, yeah. This is where I'm also going to talk about something else. I'm going to come back to that after I talk a little bit more about the handle scales and stuff. So as far as HRC is concerned, guys, this is right there. And, you know, 60 HRC. Also, I want to mention, I know that Banter247 mentioned this in a video before. Steve's 25 came up at 59 HRC, which would be in spec. But his 25, the 25 came out in like 2012 and was back when they did 58 to 59 HRC was their advertised HRC. It got discontinued after they changed, but I believe that Steve's was from the old batch where it was 58 to 59. So his came up at 59, which I believe was the top of the range that was advertised then. So they are just really nailing the HRC number, and not only just getting within spec, but getting on the top end of spec, which is what we want to see, guys. I mean, that's what we want to see. We want to see it more in the, you know, if this is 59 to 60, we want to see 59.8, 59.7, 59.9, 60. That's what we should be seeing, not 58.2, just getting in within spec, which means that even the, you know, 0.5% variance sometimes that happens, you know, with the HRC testing. Imagine if you're at 58.2 and then come up, you know, 0.3 under, then you're not within spec. So yeah, that's walking a fine line that you don't really want to walk, I feel like, with these with knives. So in saying that, I'm going to go ahead and move along to the PMI handle testings. I'm going to move the camera a little bit and take a drink here, guys. So as far as the PMI on the handle scales goes, this is where things get a little weird. So we've got some stuff in here that's a little strange, like molybdenum, zirconium. Little strange to have those elements in there. We're low on vanadium. This should be about 4 or just under, but it's not bad. But we're low on titanium, and we are very high on aluminum. And also silicon in there. So that's very strange to have 14% aluminum. That should be 6%. That's why we see, you know, that's why it's called TI6. So it should be 6 aluminum. And it should be more like 88% titanium. This is really weird, guys. So in saying that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this whole thing up, guys, because I'm going to flip this around and talk about the situation we have at hand as far as M390 and all these things are concerned. Okay? All right, so I'm gonna try and keep this wrap up relatively short because I do have to get out of here, and I gotta get to work. And also, I know this video is probably gonna be fairly long for 2 knives. So first things first, there's a lot of talk going on right now. There's a lot of negative hype and stuff going on where Lion Steel, you know, is being found to have a lot of knives come up in the very low 50 range, even 40s at times, excuse me. And then of course, Benchmade's 3V coming up at 56. Yeah. Things are a little ugly right now in the community. But in saying that, we want to make sure that, I want to make sure that people understand. For one, HRC is not everything. You know, there's an element, the grain structure has a lot to do with how it's going to perform as well. Hence this. I've got one S35 and I've got M390 here. Both coming up at relatively similar HRCs. This knife performs better. I want you guys to wrap your heads around that, okay? They're close, but S35, the steel that a lot of guys in the community right now are giving slack, you know, giving them flack, like, oh, stop using S35, I'm over it, it's over, you know, like, we use enough of it, it's good, let's move on, we need M390 now. Not if you're doing it right, guys. If they did M390 right, we'd be paying a lot more. And that's where I also want to talk about. Vinny from NeroKnives. If you guys somehow know about my channel and don't know about Vinny, go check him out. NeroKnives. He's been preaching geometry forever, guys. And geometry has a lot to do with how it goes as well, including edge retention and all those things. Geometry has a lot to do with all those things. So... and the HRC pretty much dictates how you can take that geometry, and also obviously use, guys, the user. The community kind of dictates what these companies do. And if you guys are wanting M390, I want M390, I want M390, of course these companies are going to turn around and want to pump out M390. Even if they don't have the proper heat treat protocol or have it dialed, they're going to try and spit out M390 just to make the consumer happy and sell knives. I mean, and they're doing it. They put out M390 and you guys eat it. I mean, we eat it up, you know, we eat it up because we want the super steels. But if they're not doing it right, this is still a super steel, guys. I know, like, you know, 10 years ago we would have been, oh, S35. But now, because M390 and other steels, LMAX, and all these other steels have come into the picture, now we want these and we forget about S35. You know, S35 done well can outperform M390, especially in the sense of like in production knives, because M390 has a very, very critical heat treat process. The moving times with M390 are very critical and very short. You have to, everything has to move very quickly to the next, you know, as they're going from heat treat to quench. And the cryo process is very important in M390. So these things are going to change the attributes of M390. And a lot of the stuff you guys see as far as advertising in M390 and 20CV is for the industry it was made for, which is plastic industry doing, you know, dyes and molds and stuff like that. That's why you guys are seeing 56 to 59. Yeah, that's not for cutlery, guys. So other guys that want to say, oh, they're right in range, guys, they should be at 57. It's like, no. We're talking about cutlery now, guys, not making molds. Now, I will say, hitting 62 HRC on M390, it's going to cost more, guys. We are paying more for M390, so we probably should be getting that, you know, that extra HRC out of it. But in saying that, everyone has to understand that you're not going to get, and this is where Vinny talks about in his recent video where he talks about you want the nice handle and the great heat treat on your steel, you're going to pay for it. That's where we go with this, guys. You know, this knife right here, minus the micarta, like don't even worry about the micarta because that's definitely more of a preference, aesthetic thing. When we're talking about titanium slab construction with S35 VN steel, you're paying more Not because everyone's like, oh, this is way too much for what it is. You're paying more because of the attention to detail in this heat treat process. And guys that are saying M390, I'm not getting a CRK because it doesn't have M390, really just don't understand the level of this S35. Because this S35 outperforms pretty much any M390 or 20CV or 204P I've ever touched, by far. Sharpening wise, performance wise, and that's with, I think this one's like 17 thousandths behind the edge. It's not like it's 15 thousandths or some crazy thinness behind the edge, like 10 thousandths or something, where it's gonna perform like that no matter what the steel attributes are. This has performed on another level from anything I've tried. I mean, that XHP on the Resenti performed really well. There have been other knives that I've seen that have really good heat treats done, but this thing is on another level for sure. And that's where I think, guys, you have to understand the value brought to this. And I understand why they do not change steels. If they go to M390, guess what, guys? I hope you're ready to pay $675 for a Sabinza, because not only are they going to have to up the price because the cost of M390, but now they have to up the cost because of the process that's involved in machining M390 after you get it to 62 HRC. If you get M390 to 60 to 61, now the machining process is going to cost a lot more. You know what I mean? So it all lines up, and you have to be ready to pay for what you're asking for. You also have to... these companies have to get to where they're saying they're going to be. You know what I mean? On the other side of that, we don't want to hear you say like, ooh, we got our M390, 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 and then you're not pushing it to where it's supposed to be. Lion Steel, sorry guys, you're kind of digging your own grave here. You really are. Because you're saying that, oh, M390, I'm talking about, guys, this is hearsay, but I'm talking about comments on Instagram. They're coming back saying that, oh, we're getting up to that 58 to 60 range. Oh, you're testing our knives wrong. We've sent our knives to Pete Wilson and blah, blah, like, sorry, guys, you're wrong. We're finding more and more knives of yours, and they're being tested by a guy who does it professionally, and they're coming up low. And then you're saying, oh, no, they're supposed to be, they can be that low. Bowler says that it's supposed to be between 58 and 60. Well, Bowler's talking about for industries that it's made for, not for cutlery. We need to have some kind of list of where these steel's attributes can go to. These companies should be doing that testing to LTK. LTK, guys, I love them knives. He's doing amazing stuff. He's the one that kind of started this whole movement. Although I don't think he realized what he was starting, but it started a wildfire. And I really appreciate what he's doing now and really coming forward and saying the things that need to be said. And yeah, these companies need to be pushing. You need to be testing what HRC this is best worked at. Not believing like what a spreadsheet says that's for a mold. We need what the actual, what's the ideal HRC for this EDC knife. And not everybody should get a super thin 62 HRC M390, but that should be stipulated. Hey guys, if you're buying this knife, know that you cannot be cutting staples. Done. Do like, hey, this world is full of people doing, everything has to have a cautionary tale on it, caution, your coffee's hot. Hey, caution, don't cut stupid shit. There, you're done. Void your warranty if you cut something stupid. I don't care. But it doesn't mean you should make everything 58 just to dumb it down for the guys that don't know how to use their knives. I just don't think that's the answer. So, goddamn. I kind of went on a rant here and lost my train of thought, but guys, go check out Banter247. Go check out Vinny from NeroKnives. See what they're talking about, because everything is, it's not, HRC is not the most important thing, but it is a very important cog in the gear, okay? It's very important to getting the proper finished product out of your knives, okay? And the performance that you're looking for out of your knives. So I'm sure I missed something. I'm sure I missed a few things I wanted to talk about. I want to give a big thank you shout out to Kurt and David again. I will put the spreadsheet down there. I'll link the spreadsheet. David's got a lot to do, so not everything I've done in the last month or two is going to be down there, because keeping up with it all is a lot. So saying that, don't ask, oh, where's this knife? Where's that knife? They're coming. It just takes a while. The spreadsheet does have a lot of data, though, so check it out. Thanks again. Have a great day, guys.